I walked into my parents' living room on a Tuesday afternoon and felt my entire world collapse. There was Shara, my younger sister, wearing my graduation gown. The emerald green fabric I'd picked out months ago, the one I'd shown her excitedly when it arrived, now hung on her shoulders. In her hands was the scholarship letter. My scholarship letter. The thick cream envelope with the university seal. The one I'd earned after 4 years of straight A's, 300 volunteer hours, and countless nights studying until my eyes burned. Mom and Dad stood beside her, smiling like it was the proudest moment of their lives. Dad's hand rested on Shara's shoulder the way I'd always dreamed he'd rested on mine. Mom was taking photos, her phone clicking repeatedly. Nobody noticed me at first. The front door closing behind me might as well have been silent. When they finally turned, their smiles didn't fade. If anything, they got brighter, like my arrival completed some perfect family picture. Naya.
Perfect timing, Mom said.
We were just talking about you. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Dad cleared his throat and explained like he was telling me about a change in dinner plans. Shara would be taking my place at State University. The scholarship, the dorm room, the whole program. Everything I'd worked for. They decided I could wait another year. I was the selfless one after all. The one who understood family sacrifices. You're okay with this, right? Shara asked, but her eyes told me she knew the answer didn't matter. I stood there frozen, my backpack sliding off my shoulder. The sound of my scholarship dreams hitting the floor echoed in my ears. That's when something inside me broke. Not loudly. Quietly. Like ice cracking beneath someone's feet. The next morning, Shara started spinning her story. At breakfast, she told our parents I'd been acting strange for weeks. Unstable, she called me. By lunch, she told them I was ungrateful for everything they'd sacrificed. She said I'd been complaining about the scholarship requirements, that I wanted to take a gap year anyway. Every lie was delivered with perfect tears and a trembling voice. Mom hugged her. Dad patted her back. I watched from the doorway as my sister became the victim of my supposed breakdown. That afternoon, I found proof of something worse. On Shara's laptop, left open in our shared room, I discovered a folder labeled University App. Inside were screenshots of emails I'd never sent. Messages to the scholarship committee saying I couldn't handle the pressure. Screenshots of texts where I supposedly complained about the workload. All faked. Every single one. She'd even created fake conversations between us where I asked her to take my place. The dates, the times, the formatting. Everything looked real. But I'd never written any of it. My hands shook as I took photos of everything with my phone. I needed proof. Evidence that I wasn't losing my mind. When I confronted my parents with the evidence, I thought truth would win. I showed them the screenshots on my phone. I explained how the dates didn't match. How I'd never even opened some of those email threads. I pointed out details only someone who knew my passwords could fake. Dad's face turned red. Not with shame. With anger.
At me.
You hacked your sister's computer? He shouted. Do you hear yourself? This is exactly what Shara was talking about. You're spiraling. Mom's disappointment hurt worse than Dad's anger. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Naya, we raised you better than this. Your jealousy is destroying this family. Shara stood behind them, crying. But when our parents weren't looking, she smirked at me. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to understand that she'd planned every detail. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried until my throat burned. My own parents didn't believe me. The evidence didn't matter. Shara's tears always won. Dad's final words echoed in my head. You've changed, Naya. I don't recognize you anymore. I moved out 3 days later. Not because they asked me to leave. Because I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. I found a basement apartment across town. The ceiling leaked. The heat barely worked. But it was mine. Nobody could lie about me here. Nobody could rewrite my truth. I got a night job at a warehouse, loading boxes from midnight to 6 a.m. During the day, I enrolled in online classes. My scholarship was gone, but I could still finish school. Just slower. Harder. Alone. The loneliness nearly crushed me. Some nights, I'd sit on my mattress and wonder if I really was crazy. Maybe my parents were right. Maybe I'd imagined everything. But then I'd look at the photos on my phone. The proof Shara had created to destroy me. And I'd remember that I wasn't the villain here. I started recording video journals. Nothing fancy. Just me talking to my phone camera after work, still in my warehouse uniform. I needed to hear my own voice. To remind myself that my story mattered, even if nobody believed it. The videos were supposed to be therapy. They became something else entirely. I posted my first video, without thinking much about it. Just me, sitting on my mattress after a night shift, still wearing my warehouse uniform. My hair was messy. No makeup. Dark circles under my eyes. I didn't name Shara or my parents. I just told my story. About a sister who stole a scholarship. About parents who chose the wrong daughter. About feeling invisible in your own family. About what it's like when nobody believes you. Not even the people who raised you. The video got 50 views the first day. Then 500. Then 5,000. By the end of the week, 50,000 people had watched me break down on camera. People were commenting, sharing, posting it to other platforms. Strangers were telling me their own stories. Sisters who betrayed them. Parents who played favorites. Golden children who could do no wrong. People who understood what it felt like to have your life stolen while everyone smiled and said you should be grateful. The comment section became a support group. You're not alone. I believe you. Keep fighting. For the first time since this nightmare started, I didn't feel crazy. These people, thousands of them, saw through Shara's lies without even knowing her name. I posted another video. Then another. Each one added pieces to my story. The fake emails. The gaslighting. The moment my parents chose her over me. I never showed anger. Just honest, raw pain. That's what people connected with. Not revenge.
Truth.
The internet is terrifyingly good at detective work. Viewers started finding Shara's social media accounts. She'd been posting photos of herself at university events, wearing my scholarship program t-shirt. She'd written captions using phrases from my application essays. Word for word. My words. Her photos. Someone posted side-by-side comparisons. My video where I talked about using education to lift communities next to Shara's Instagram caption using the exact same phrase. My description of volunteer work next to her scholarship acceptance speech. She hadn't just stolen my opportunity. She'd stolen my voice. The comments under her posts changed. Did you steal this from your sister? This sounds familiar. Why are you pretending? She deleted the posts. Then locked her accounts. But screenshots lived forever. The internet doesn't forget.
My phone rang.
It was a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a woman from the scholarship committee asked if we could talk. She'd seen my videos. She had questions about the application process. About who'd actually written those essays. My parents found my videos 2 weeks after they went viral. Mom called me at 2 a.m. screaming. I could hear Dad shouting in the background. I'd humiliated them. Destroyed the family reputation. How dare I air our private matters online? They demanded I delete everything immediately. Everyone at church knows now, Mom cried. Your aunt called. She saw the videos. What are we supposed to say? You could say you're sorry, I replied quietly. You could say you made a mistake. Silence. Then Mom hung up. Shara called next. Her voice was different. Still crying, but underneath the tears, I heard something new.
Fear.
She begged me to stop making videos. She claimed she'd had no idea I'd be this hurt. That she'd thought we could share the opportunity. That everything had gotten out of control. But she never said she was sorry. Not really. Just sorry she got caught. I could hear it in every word. She still thought she'd done nothing wrong. That somehow I'd be fine. I'd always been fine before. The university launched an official investigation. They'd received dozens of emails from viewers who'd noticed the similarities between my videos and Shara's scholarship materials. The committee requested my original application drafts, the ones I'd saved on my laptop. They compared writing styles. vocabulary patterns, essay structures. Shara's essays matched mine with 87% similarity. You can't fake that kind of overlap by accident. The committee also found the fake email evidence. The timestamps didn't match university records. The formatting was wrong. Someone had created them after the application deadline. Academic fraud investigation opened officially. Shara's enrollment was suspended pending the outcome. My parents hired a lawyer. They claimed the investigation was harassment. That internet mobs had pressured the university into targeting an innocent student. They still didn't see the truth. Or maybe they did and couldn't admit it. I didn't celebrate.
Part of me felt sick.
Another part felt vindicated. Mostly, I felt tired. So incredibly tired of fighting for people to believe me. Shara showed up at my apartment on a Wednesday night. I almost didn't let her in. But curiosity won. Maybe she'd finally tell the truth. Maybe this nightmare could end. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her eyes were red. No makeup. The golden child facade had cracked. She cried the moment I opened the door. Real tears this time. Not the performative ones she used on our parents. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I thought you'd understand. You always figure things out. You always land on your feet. I needed this chance. I wasn't good enough on my own." I stood there, watching my sister fall apart. Part of me wanted to hug her. We'd shared a room for 18 years. But I couldn't.
Not yet.
"You're not sorry I'm hurt," I said quietly. "You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference." She started to protest, but I hugged her anyway. A brief, cold embrace. As I pulled away, I whispered near her ear, "You should have just asked me for help." Then I closed the door. Some betrayals can't be undone with tears. The internet exploded again after my final video about Shara's visit. I'd explained everything. The investigation. Her tears. My mixed feelings about watching my sister's life collapse in real time. The comments section became a war zone. Half the people called me brave. Said I was standing up for myself, fighting back against family manipulation. The other half called me cruel, vindictive, a monster who destroyed her sister over jealousy. They said I should have kept it private. That family matters should stay in the family. That airing dirty laundry online was worse than the original betrayal. Former classmates started coming forward with their own stories. Screenshots appeared showing group projects where Shara had contributed nothing but claimed full credit. Teachers commented about assignments that seemed too advanced for her writing level. Friends shared stories about ideas she'd stolen, achievements she'd exaggerated. A pattern emerged that was impossible to ignore. I wasn't her first victim.
Just the biggest one.
The one where the stakes were high enough that she couldn't hide anymore. My mentions became a war zone. Strangers arguing about justice and forgiveness. About whether I'd gone too far. Whether I'd had a choice. The attention felt suffocating. I'd wanted people to believe me. Now millions did. And somehow that felt almost as lonely as when nobody had. Through it all, my parents stayed silent. No calls. No texts. No acknowledgement that maybe, possibly, they'd been wrong. Their silence hurt worse than any of Shara's lies. 3 months after the investigation started, my parents showed up at my apartment. Together. It was the first time they'd visited since I'd moved out. Dad knocked. Mom stood behind him, her face unreadable. They didn't come to apologize. They came with an ultimatum. Delete all the videos. Stop talking about Shara. Stop posting online.
Do it for the family.
Save what was left of our reputation. If I didn't comply, they'd cut me off completely. Officially disown me. "We're giving you a chance to make this right," Dad said. Like I was the one who'd broken everything. I looked at them standing in my tiny, leaking apartment. They hadn't asked how I was surviving. Hadn't noticed the dark circles under my eyes from working nights. Hadn't cared that their youngest daughter was living on ramen and working herself to exhaustion. "You already disowned me," I said. "You chose Shara the day you took my scholarship. This just makes it official." Mom's expression cracked. Just for a moment. Then she turned and walked out. Dad followed. Neither of them looked back. A journalist reached out asking for an interview. Not tabloid stuff. A real feature for a national magazine about family dynamics and favoritism. I hesitated for days. Every video had brought more pain, more judgment, more complicated mess. But something in me needed to tell the complete story. With context, with nuance, not just viral clips and comment wars. I wanted people to understand that this wasn't about revenge. It was about being seen, being believed, being worth as much as the golden child. I agreed to the interview. We talked for 3 hours. I cried. I laughed. I admitted I didn't know if I'd done the right thing by going public. The journalist didn't judge. Just listened. Really listened. The article came out 2 weeks later with the title, "The Daughter Who Demanded to Be Seen." The response was overwhelming. Speaking requests poured in. Podcasts wanted my story. Brands offered sponsorships. Suddenly, the girl nobody believed was becoming impossible to ignore. My pain had given me a platform. I just wished I'd never needed one. Media accounts, once full of perfect photos and inspirational captions, went dark. Shara's world completely fell apart. The university expelled her for academic fraud. Her friends disappeared overnight. Nobody wanted to be associated with that girl who stole her sister's scholarship. Her social media accounts, once full of perfect photos and inspirational captions, went dark. My parents blamed me.
Publicly.
Mom posted on Facebook about family loyalty and forgiveness, about how I destroyed my sister's future out of jealousy. Her friends rallied around her. Poor woman with such a vindictive daughter. The narrative they'd always told themselves became their public defense. But I felt something I'd never experienced before. Peace. Real, deep, quiet peace. My truth was out there.
Permanent.
Undeniable. People knew what happened.
Some took my side.
Some didn't. But nobody could erase my story anymore. I didn't celebrate Shara's downfall. It brought me no joy. But I didn't apologize for it either. She'd made her choices. Now she lived with the consequences. Just like I'd had to live with mine when she stole my life. My phone rang at midnight, 6 months after everything exploded. Dad's name flashed on the screen. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. His voice was different. Smaller. The proud, authoritative tone I'd known my whole life was gone. "Naya," he said, and his voice cracked. "We should have believed you." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Your mother and we saw what we wanted to see. Shara always needed more help. You were always so strong. So capable. We thought you'd be fine. We convinced ourselves you'd understand. I wasn't fine, I whispered. I'm still not. I know. A long pause. Can you forgive us? I thought about that question for a long time. Could I? Should I? I can forgive, I finally said. But I won't forget. You chose her over me. That's something I'll carry forever. We talked for another hour. It didn't fix everything, but it was a start. A small crack in the wall between us. Just when I thought things were calming down, Shara struck back. She created new accounts on social media, posted her own videos, claimed she was the real victim, that I'd stolen her ideas and then falsely accused her when she'd tried to use them, that I'd manipulated our parents, that I'd destroy her life out of pure jealousy. Her story was polished, professional. She'd learned from my videos. Knew how to look vulnerable, how to make people doubt. Some viewers believed her. My comment sections filled with hate again.
Sponsors started dropping me.
Follower counts plummeted. The internet turned on me fast. One day I was brave. The next I was a liar, a manipulator, someone who'd ruined her innocent sister's life. The shift was terrifying. How quickly truth became fiction. How easily people forgot the original evidence. I almost deleted everything. Almost gave up. Let Shara win. But then a message came through from someone I didn't know. They'd attached files, screenshots, bank records, proof that Shara had paid someone to help her create the fake emails. Evidence of the conspiracy. The second betrayal was just as calculated as the first. I sat in my apartment staring at the evidence for hours. Shara had paid a tech-savvy friend $3,000 to create the fake emails, to make them look authentic, to build the digital paper trail that convinced our parents I was unstable. Everything had been planned, calculated, deliberate. The person who sent me the proof was Shara's former friend, someone she'd burned after the scandal broke, someone who'd helped her and then been thrown away when she became inconvenient. Revenge comes from unexpected places. I wanted to post it immediately. Expose Shara's latest lies. Watch her carefully constructed victim's story crumble.
But something stopped me.
I'd learned from the first wave. Evidence needs context, timing, strategy. Instead, I reached out to Shara privately, suggested we meet for dinner.
Talk things through like adults.
She agreed eagerly. Too eagerly. She thought I was surrendering. Thought she'd won the narrative war. She had no idea I was recording every word. We met at a quiet restaurant downtown, one of those places with dim lighting and private booths. Shara showed up looking confident, almost smug. Her hair was done, her makeup perfect. She wore a dress I'd never seen before. She hugged me like we were best friends reuniting after a long absence, like nothing bad had ever happened between us. The performance had already started before she even sat down. I played my part perfectly. Apologized for the videos, my voice soft and apologetic. Said I'd been hurt and lashed out without thinking about the consequences. Asked if we could start over. Rebuild our relationship. Maybe try to be real sisters again. Shara ate it up. Her smile grew wider with every word. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand, tears forming in her eyes. She told me how much she'd missed me, how the past year had been so lonely without me, how she'd always loved me, even when I was being difficult. Then I started asking questions, casual and friendly, about her new videos, about how she'd come up with her version of events, about the evidence she'd used to support her claims. Where did she find those screenshots? How did she remember those conversations so clearly? She answered freely, proudly even. Thinking I was on her side now. Thinking she'd manipulated me successfully. Thinking she'd won. She bragged about paying someone to help with the original emails. Laughed about how easy it was to fool our parents. Admitted she'd known exactly what she was doing from the start. She even said she'd do it again if she had to. That she deserved my scholarship more than I did anyway. My phone recorded every word from my purse. Every admission. Every cruel laugh. Every moment that proved who she really was. I uploaded the recording at exactly 6 p.m. on a Friday. The video was titled simply, The Truth Unedited. No dramatic music. No clever editing. Just Shara's voice, clear and undeniable, admitting everything. Within an hour, it had 500,000 views. Within 3 hours, 2 million. By morning, it was trending nationally. The contrast was devastating. My calm questions next to Shara's smirking confessions. Her laughing about destroying my life. Her pride in manipulating everyone around her. The comment sections exploded. People who defended Shara went silent. Her victim narrative crumbled in real time. News outlets picked up the story. Sister caught admitting scholarship fraud. The golden child's confession. When family favoritism goes too far. Shara's phone number got leaked. So did her address. I didn't do it, but I didn't stop it either. The internet's justice system had its own rules. She'd wanted public attention. Now she had it.
Just not the kind she'd planned.
Shara disappeared from social media completely. Her accounts went private. Then deleted. People said she'd moved to another state. Someone claimed they saw her working at a coffee shop 3 hours away, wearing sunglasses indoors, trying not to be recognized. My parents finally stopped defending her. Mom called, crying. Dad sent a long email apologizing for everything. They'd been wrong. So incredibly wrong. They saw it now. Could I ever forgive them? The shame in their words was palpable. Meanwhile, my life transformed. Speaking engagements multiplied. A major podcast network offered me my own show. Brands wanted partnerships. A publisher reached out about writing a book. The girl nobody believed had become someone people listened to. I didn't feel triumphant. Just tired. So incredibly tired. This wasn't how I'd wanted to prove myself. I'd wanted to earn recognition through my achievements, not through my family's betrayal. But life doesn't always give you the story you'd write for yourself. A year after everything started, I received a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was Shara's old diary, the one she'd kept in high school. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won. The entries were heartbreaking. Page after page of Shara comparing herself to me, feeling inadequate, wondering why I got everything so easily while she struggled, hating herself for hating me. The final entry was dated the week before she stole my scholarship. "You were always the better sister," she'd written. "I just wanted to be you for once. To feel what it's like when people are proud. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop myself anymore." I cried reading those words. Not tears of anger. Tears of release. Understanding. Grief for what we'd both lost. She destroyed us both trying to be me. And I destroyed us both trying to be heard. The diary didn't excuse what she'd done, but it explained it. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are drowning in their own pain. I agreed to have dinner with my parents 18 months after the scholarship was stolen. We met at a neutral restaurant. Nobody cried. We talked like adults who'd hurt each other and were trying to figure out what came next. "We were so focused on Shara's struggles," Mom said quietly. "We forgot you had your own. We thought being capable meant you didn't need us. Loving her never meant you had to erase me," I replied. "I needed you too. I always did." Dad's eyes filled with tears. The first time I'd ever seen him cry. "We failed you," he said. "When you needed us most, we chose wrong. I don't know if we can ever make that right." "You can't," I said honestly. "But we can start building something new. Not what we had. Something different. If we're all willing to try." Mom reached across the table and held my hand. "I'm so sorry, Naya. For everything." Her voice broke on my name, like she'd forgotten how much it mattered. Saying it now felt like reclaiming something we'd both lost. I channeled everything into writing a book, not just about the scholarship and the betrayal, about family dynamics and how they shape us, about favoritism and its lasting damage, about the invisible children who sacrifice themselves to keep peace, who learn to make themselves smaller so others can shine, about finding your voice when everyone tells you to stay quiet, about surviving when the people who should protect you choose someone else instead. The book was titled Chosen Wrong, When Family Picks Sides. It became a bestseller in 3 weeks. Not just because of the viral drama, though that helped with initial attention, but because thousands of people saw themselves in my story. The overlooked sibling. The capable one who didn't get help because they didn't seem to need it. The daughter who was too strong to be vulnerable. People wrote me letters sharing their own experiences. Some made me cry. Some made me angry. All of them reminded me why I'd written it in the first place. I did book tours, spoke at universities, helped create support groups for people dealing with family betrayal. My pain had purpose now. It helped others feel less alone. That made the suffering almost worth it. The scholarship committee reached out again. They wanted to offer me a full ride to complete my degree. On my terms. My timeline. I accepted. 2 years late, but finally mine. I ran into Shara at our grandmother's funeral. We hadn't spoken in 2 years. She looked different. Older. The confidence she'd always worn like armor was gone. She approached me cautiously during the reception. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Privately?" We stepped outside into the cold. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then Shara said, "I'm in therapy. Have been for over a year. Trying to understand why I did what I did. Trying to become someone I don't hate." I nodded. "That's good." "I don't expect forgiveness," she continued. "I know what I did was unforgivable, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry I got caught. Sorry I hurt you. Sorry I destroyed what we had." For the first time, I believed her. "Thank you for saying that." We stood in the cold, 2 sisters who destroyed each other trying to survive the same family. "I hope therapy helps," I added. I really do. We didn't hug, didn't make promises, just acknowledged the truth between us. It took me 3 years to understand that forgiveness didn't mean reconciliation. I could forgive Shara and still choose not to have her in my life. I could forgive my parents and still maintain boundaries. Forgiveness was for me,
Not for them.
the weight I'd carried started to lift.
Slowly.
Some days I still felt angry. Other days just sad. But increasingly I felt free. Free from needing them to understand. Free from waiting for them to choose me. Free from the girl who'd been invisible in her own family. I sent Shara a text message one quiet Sunday morning. I forgive you. But I'm done carrying you. Done carrying what you did. Done letting it define me. I hope you find peace. I've found mine. She responded hours later with a simple, "Thank you. I understand." Nothing more. Nothing less. Just acknowledgement. Sometimes that's enough. I deleted her number after that. Not out of anger. Out of release. Some chapters need to close completely before new ones can begin. 5 years after that Tuesday afternoon when my world collapsed, I stood on a stage at a major conference center. The auditorium was packed with 3,000 people who'd come to hear me speak. The title of my talk, "The Day My Family Chose the Wrong Daughter." It was bold.
Direct.
Exactly what I'd learned to be over the years since everything fell apart. I told my story from beginning to end. The scholarship theft, the gaslighting, the fake evidence, the betrayal, the videos, the investigation, the fallout that destroyed and rebuilt us all, the slow, painful process of learning to breathe again after your family steals your air. I didn't tell it as a victim. I didn't tell it as a villain. Just as someone who'd survived something horrible and found purpose in the pain. Someone who'd learned that being chosen wrong could teach you to choose yourself right. In the third row, I spotted them. My parents. They'd come without telling me, without asking permission. Dad looked older, his hair completely gray now. Mom's face showed lines that hadn't been there 5 years ago. They sat together, holding hands, listening to their daughter talk about how they'd failed her. When I talked about forgiveness and boundaries, Mom wiped her eyes with a tissue. When I mentioned finding Shara's diary, Dad's face crumpled like paper. After the speech ended with thunderous applause, they waited in the lobby. They didn't rush up, didn't demand attention, just waited quietly by the windows. We didn't embrace, but we acknowledged each other with nods. Small smiles. The kind of progress you measure in tiny gestures when the big ones are still too hard. That night, I wrote my final social media post about the situation. They thought taking my life would break me. Instead, they taught me how to rebuild it stronger, without needing them to believe me. Sometimes the greatest gift your family can give you is teaching you to save yourself. I'm grateful for the lesson, even if I wish I'd never needed to learn it. I closed my laptop and looked out at the city lights from my hotel room window. Somewhere out there, Shara was building her own life, hopefully learning to be someone real instead of someone's shadow. My parents were learning to live with their mistakes and the daughter they'd underestimated. And I was finally, completely, authentically myself. Not the selfless one. Not the capable one. Just me. The daughter they chose wrong became the woman who chose right. For herself. Always for herself.